Hey, what is up, YouTube? It's Rich. All right, this is going to be a really interesting and I think fun video and also eye-opening. And what I want to do is I want to get feedback from you. So I'm going to throw this out right away. I want you to recommend artists to me that you think don't draw well but draw comics, if that makes sense. And we'll get into that further in a minute. But I had an interesting question last night on Patreon, and we're going to go over it, and then I'm going to show some art that he suggested. So the original question was this, because I've been going over anatomy for people on Patreon, and I've been doing some private lessons too. And just foundationally speaking, you generally start with anatomy, but really what it is its structure. So this was his question. It can be confusing to people because they think you have to study anatomy for years. That's not at all the truth. So do you think appeal is more important than anatomy? Yes. Right out of the gate, I'll say, yeah, absolutely. Cool drawing is a cool drawing. I've talked about that a lot of times. You don't have to have even decent anatomy to draw cool stuff. So reason I ask is because anime manga has been so popular for decades, and they throw out the anatomy out the window majority of the time. There are plenty of artists that lack anatomy study, but their work is still exciting to look at. Thoughts? So when I read it, though, I was concerned only because I think that, to me, this is potentially someone backpedaling about doing the hard work up front to learn to draw well. And again, anatomy isn't what anatomy is. Anatomy is being able to move around a three-dimensional object in space and tell stories with it. Two artists that came to mind that I don't really consider their work packed with anatomy, if there's any anatomy at all, would be Bill Watterson, who drew Calvin and Hobbes, or even Charles Schulz, who drew Peanuts. I mean, those cartoon strips don't have anatomy, but those guys can draw their ass off. So it's like you still are going to need a level of somewhat consistency, kind of, and then you need to be able to draw well. So anyway, I replied to him and I said, well, give me some examples of people that throw anatomy out the window majority of the time and, lack that sort of focus. So the reply was, that's pretty challenging, to be honest, once you've been practicing anatomy for so long. So again, this is a huge red flag for me, because the one thing that I try to recommend, especially to direct students, is do not get stuck in a practice loop. You need to be learning things, applying them, and then moving on. You don't sit and practice anatomy for months and months and months or years. You're never going to get anywhere with it that way. In fact, I've got a student who's taken 2 lessons from me now. We're going to be finished with anatomy in another probably lesson or 2. And the first one was, we didn't even touch on it. So we've done 1 lesson where I did half the body, maybe 39% of the body. We're going to do the back half of the body in the next lesson, and the sides, and we're done. He doesn't need to learn to draw anatomy like a doctor. If anything, his style to me is heading more towards like a Scotty Young type thing, but you still need to understand structure. So anyway, and then I wrote back and I said, something else. I'm like, well, give me a name. And so he said, Ichiro Oda, artist for One Piece. And it's funny because it didn't connect to me immediately when I read this, but I've actually been checking out One Piece over the last month or so. I think the art is great, but we'll get into that in a second, and we'll look at, does this guy use anatomy, or is he just structurally sound? Because to me, it's the same thing. So the story is great and has been #1 selling manga for ages. Love watching the show, but so many people complain about the art. I actually like it because it's unique. So this will be the other thing that I would say is, I really like lowbrow art. I like graffiti art. I like stuff that I don't even go anywhere near on YouTube because I know that it's so nichey that it probably wouldn't appeal to the crowd that I think grown here. But yeah, I mean, I'm not just stuck on superhero comics. In fact, it's just a very... So I grabbed 4 different issues of this. I grabbed a real early one so that we could see like the early work, because I think that that's always interesting to check out. And then I grabbed some stuff from later in the series. But the first thing I saw right away was this guy can draw great. You know, whether you like the style or not is really a non-issue, but this is all exactly what I talk about when I talk about anatomy. This is anatomy. He just has removed a lot of the detail, but this is fine. But if you can't look at this. Well, you could look at this and try to copy it and then just sort of plug stuff in. It's a harder road and you can get stuck easier. But I don't see anything on this page that doesn't indicate to me that this guy hasn't done the work on his stuff just already. This fist in this position, this would chew up and spit out 30% of the wannabes that are just kind of at an early stage of drawing. The position of this foot, the hat, the lighting on the hat. I mean, these are all cues to me that this is someone who's done their work, and this is the third issue of One Piece. Again, I mean, he's got stuff in perspective. This is pretty much a dead-on shot. This is lifting a little bit. It's not bad. This is fine. And honestly, this isn't stiff. What you find a lot of times is stuff that looks a little more like this. Like they pick a vanishing point like right here and all the buildings just kind of go right to it. He's doing that, but he's actually varied the silhouette style. Again, to me, an indication of somebody who understands composition, understands the randomness, and has a cool factor to their work. But this right here, this is all, to me, anatomically sound. This is fine. This is all in proportion. He's distorted it. It looks cool. He drew a hand at a very complicated angle. This is a side view, but he's bending the hand around so that you see the palm, the flatness of the thumb wedge. You know, I'm not seeing anywhere where this guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's just an aesthetic that he's going for, and I know he gets better, but this is all really nice. I mean, there's no anatomy on these arms, but it's very cool. But even this cross-legged pose is it can be tricky to do, and the feet are cute even though they're very stylish. This gets a little, oh, it's a different panel. I was gonna say, yeah, it was like the perspective is really dropping here a lot, but this is a different panel. I would have chose a different shot and maybe mellowed this out a little bit. It's a little bit of a, it's a weird kind of tangent going on, but that's not a big deal. But anyway, so we're already seeing early on that this person could draw. And if I was even going to do a review, if someone sent me samples like this, I would be like, you're on your way. I mean, this is fine. You could definitely find an audience with this, which obviously this artist had done. And if it's as hugely popular as the person indicated, there's a reason why. This stuff is really good. But again, I'm not looking at anyone that doesn't know how to draw. So what I want you to do is send me examples of people that you really don't think can draw. You know, that like they actually have really bad structure. And the stuff is very consistent. I'm not getting confused looking at these pages and going like, is this guy? I can't tell, because believe me, people will like, they'll draw someone that looks like this here and then do a tight shot on them and you're like, I have no idea that this is the same character. This is all cool, you know? He did a front view here and another front view here, but he turned this character at such a cool little angle. It actually works really well. So we're going to shut this issue, and then we're going to open another one. We'll go further on into the thing. But yeah, I mean, anybody that can draw like that, I would say you're on your way. Don't worry about it. And again, anatomy is just a discipline like anything else. You're never going to hurt yourself working on it for a few days. But, you know, I always recommend don't sit and grind on it. It's a bad idea. So we'll go full screen for this and we'll go through these really quick. So I don't know if he colored this or if it's fan colored or what, but we'll move past this piece because I'm not 100% sure that this is the artist. Okay, this is cool. This looks like fan art maybe too. Shut this. Okay, so here we go. Oh, is this all fan art? What is this? Oh, here we go. So this is cool. I like this. He draws this house great. I actually kind of glanced at these before I was opening them. You'll see a few shots of this like hut. This would not be easy to draw. Someone that doesn't know how to draw would not be able to draw this thing. This is a very complicated little house that he's got, these curved things and the roof and stuff like that. Again, this is something that would chew up and spit out a novice artist. This is cool. This is really nice. And this is great too. Yeah, I mean, if people don't like the art, then they just didn't grow with the artist, you know, or they don't connect with this style of art. This is all cool. Look at the foreshortening on this skull. It's nice. The eyes would drop a little bit, but it doesn't really bug me that they're sort of curving the other way. This, look at this. That thing would be hard to draw. I mean, not necessarily at this angle, but this is rock solid. So I get the appeal on this, you know, and I can only imagine reading this. It would be even better. This is great. This is really, really cool. So this video probably will get a lot of views. The manga videos that I've done so far have really, really exploded in terms of views compared to a lot of the more standard comic book stuff. It's been interesting to see that. This is great right here. I like this stuff a lot, you know, I really do. It was funny because I had seen a screenshot of it was an ad for the anime, and I was like, man, what is this? This looks awesome. And I checked out one or two, but they weren't in English, so it was a little challenging. There was no subtitles, so I was just kind of like watching it, and I want to go back to it. I'm hoping that I can find it with at least subtitles. What's funny is I almost have done Jeremy Bastian a couple of times, and Jeremy doesn't draw exactly like this. His stuff is way more ramped up, but the Cursed Pirate Girl annual, I actually think I did shoot a video for it and just never uploaded it, but he's great, but his stuff is pretty different. I mean, this looks just like something Scotty Young would do, you know? And Scotty is hugely, hugely successful. But you know, you just, it's when you do something unusual like this, there's a risk involved that people might not appreciate it, and then sometimes they appreciate it to levels that are just insane, you know. One person could draw like this and literally not be able to build 300 people following them on like Instagram or YouTube, and someone else could do it and have 350,000 followers, you know. It's just, it's really kind of fate, honestly. This is awesome. Yeah, so this is a tough one for me in terms of like I don't see the poor drawing skills on this artist at all. So I don't know if this was a great example of what you meant, but his forms are all solid. His cartooning is great, and it's consistent as hell, which you'll hear me always sort of reference in videos of the best artists, is the level of consistency. This is all great. Yeah, this is really good. I like this a lot. Yeah, man. This dude is a stud. So, all right, let's open one more. Let me go back to full screen mode for a second. Open. Let's do 974. Let's see what this one is all about. Oh yeah, this was nice. I saw a little bit of this. Okay, full screen. Well, this was really exciting. It was a great question, though. I'm telling you, like my first reaction to the question was concern, because, like I said, to me, it just sounded like someone who was like, didn't want to do the hard work, was like going, well, this guy doesn't draw good. Like, why do I need to learn this stuff? And it's like, man, that's a bad place, a headspace to be in early on in your career. Look at this. I mean, this is really, really done well. And again, this person now, this artist, has done 974 issues of this stuff. So, I mean, this is kind of like Jamie Hewlett a little bit. This is great too. But, Kitty, you like this too? Okay. This is awesome. But yeah, so my first thing was concern, and it's like then you understand the confusion on it, because the second post about like, well, I've been working on anatomy forever, that's bad. You shouldn't be working on anatomy forever. Memorize it once, get going on your drawings, and then just come back to it occasionally. You know, dip your toe into it 10, 15 minutes a day, or once a week have maybe like a little 30-minute thing where you go back and try to fine tune something. But yeah, memorize the front half of the body, memorize the back half of the body, try to understand the mechanics of what the muscles do. I mean, I would recommend take a couple lessons from me, but if you're not going to do that and you're going to do it on your own, then you're going to need to figure it out. You know, there's a range of motion the joints have, and ask Lewis, who took one anatomy lesson from me, how much he learned from it, because I think in 2.5 lessons he'll have it down, and then he can disregard anything he doesn't want to use. This is great. This is so good. There's no doubt. I mean, man, this guy can draw his ass off. These waves, this is killer. Oh my god, this is so good. So yeah, do the hard work. You don't need to learn anatomy. Just get it down, then get rolling. It's like fundamentals. No one wants to work on the fundamentals. It was funny is I started to shoot a video yesterday that I'm not going to actually say what the book was, but anyway, I was saying how important it is, those first few pages of any drawing book where they show you the cylinder, the sphere, and the cube. It's like, if you can't draw that stuff and like that stuff, you're kind of dead in the water right from the beginning, just like these guys, dead in the water. But you know, is there a ton of form on this face? No, not really. I mean, this right here kind of indicates a little bit of the skull. This nose looks flat, but it also, I mean, you could argue that it's kind of protruding because of these shapes. And there's a little bit of sense of space here, but it's just a nice cartoon face. But the thing is this guy can turn this face and it'll still look like that character, and then there is form. So to me, that is anatomy, that is structure, because it's all the same. It's all the same. In fact, I'll tell you something else that's all the same. So I've said this literally since I was a kid. There's nothing in the world that's harder to draw than anything else. Just some stuff takes more work. It takes more time. And I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, it's really not an accurate statement, because there is some stuff that's harder, depending on how much, what would you call it? How much problem solving is involved in it. But technically speaking, you can disassemble any drawing challenge going back to the main roots, which is, this is a cube in space. This is just geometry that you subdivide and kind of work it out. But it just becomes instinctual, you know. But yeah, I mean, a Spanish galleon is going to take a lot longer than a vase that sits on a bookshelf, you know. It's just got more angles. So learn your fundamentals and then have fun, man. That's what it's about, is draw and have fun. Create stuff. This is so good. I love this comic book. So hopefully that's encouraging. Take a lesson, get a review. I'll get your ass on point. I'll have links to Patreon below. My Patreon, just in general, you'll be able to get a ton of good stuff out of it. And I try to give really great stuff on YouTube too, but the direct lessons and reviews is where you're really going to excel, because I cater it exactly to whatever you're doing. I don't try to turn you into some artist that you're not. I look at exactly what you're doing, and I will get you there as fast as possible to the level you want to be at. That's my goal. This is awesome. So, all right, I'm ending the video here. I don't want this video to be too long, but this stuff is great. It was funny. This reminded me a little bit of like some of the Sergio Aragonis Mad Magazine stuff a little bit. I don't know why. It's really wacky. It's funny, though. But, okay, have a great day. Hopefully that inspired you and didn't scare you away. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.